it was not nice to see what they did with the next match and the talent involved in it. So while the kids were fighting over the World Six-Man Tag Team Championship, for absolutely no reason whatsoever, a six-man tag team match was put on this card with Jay Lethal bringing in Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, the Motor City Machine Guns, along with Sanjay and Zippy the Giant Pinhead, to go against FTR and Wardlow. And we mentioned there was no reason for this match. Some people will say, well, they needed to be on the card. Well, yeah, they need to be on the card. As a matter of fact, now that we've seen this card, the highlight of the card would have been the original plan for FTR and the Bucks to have their third rubber match, and for the Bucks to do the right thing for FTR and put all the belts on them in a big feature match that would have been another match of the year candidate, because FTR are miracle workers and get shit out of anybody. But instead, the big angle that superseded that plan was the return of Twinkle Toes to television, which, as we've mentioned 2 weeks in a row, caused 200,000 people to run screaming like their heads were on fire away from their television, and for the Cucamonga Kids to lose the World Tag title without actually losing the match they were in to an underneath middle card babyface tag team, and then win the six-man belts. So we got this six-man tag. Dax's daughter came out in the entryway beforehand, which was nice and heartwarming because of the interview he did a couple of weeks ago and the T-shirts that have been sold, Fight Like an 8-year-old Girl. But as I said, we missed FTR Bucks 3 for a lousy six-man tag and a cold six-man tag. And you could see in this match what we got to see of it. You know, Dax, Cash, Jay Lethal, Sabin, and Shelley. The first match on the show where all the participants look like they actually belong in a wrestling ring. And it was a different level of professionalism. And I don't want to leave Wardlow out of that, but he doesn't have the experience, and he's not supposed to be a smooth worker. But this was a different level of competition in the ring because these guys all know what they're doing, have experience, and we're trying to be serious. It's not their fault about the bad creative. And the bad thing was, because of the bad creative, it's the only good match that I had seen to that point on this telecast, and nobody gave a shit because it was a cold match, and 2 of the 3 people on one team have never wrestled there before. And they got heat on Dax, and then Cash made a comeback, and then they stopped Cash. They got 2 sets of heat in a cold match on a show that was sucking so far. And I'm like, and this had to go a while. And I'm thinking, can anybody not have a 10-minute preliminary match anymore? Then they did simultaneous tags to Wardlow and Lethal, and Wardlow made his comeback, and then shit got confusing. And then they beat up Wardlow and killed his aura. And then FTR hit their finish, but then Jay hit the lethal injection on both of them. And I'm thinking, something's wrong here, because Wardlow and Lethal are still the 2 legal guys. And my God, just as I started getting nervous, they did it. Powerbomb, 2 powerbomb, 3 powerbomb, 4 powerbombs. Wardlow beat Lethal. So FTR had been taken out of this thing. They'd been invisible for minutes. And then they didn't beat one of the 2 guys that don't even work there and have never appeared for this company before. They beat Jay Lethal. That's under contract. That is a goddamn, that was an opportunity to build a quality, talented fucking person on this roster. But that's long ago left the barn. And Then the heels that just got killed menace, in quotes, the baby faces because there's Sanjay and the Zippy the Giant. So then they play music and here comes Samoa Joe. And now they've still got an 8-foot giant and they still got the numbers advantage, but now Joe is coming. So that means that now the heels run away, but they trap Sanjay Dutt. His giant leaves, the Guns leave, Lethal leaves, but they grab Sanjay and put him in the ring, and Dax's daughter comes back out and breaks Sanjay's pencil, and Dax hits a big move on him, and his daughter pins him 1, 2, 3 to their count with her foot on his chest. And as much as I love FTR and I thought that her story was so remarkable in the promo, I would be remiss and or hypocritical if I don't say the same thing about this 8-year-old I said about Brody Lee's 8-year-old. The kids don't need to go to the board meetings, even if their father was fucking chairman of the board when he passed away. Best match of the night so far, with the worst finish and the most embarrassing afterbirth. And it was unnecessary to begin with. Otherwise than that, it was great. What'd you think?
It was all right. And that's not to take away from any of the people in the match, but I didn't really feel like I was in the mood for another 6-man match. Jay Lethal's been used so poorly that I kind of don't want to see him for a while. Give it a chance and try it again. Maybe, I don't know. But, you know, in a sense, I think it was good to have FTR on the show. They got a big pop. They got the wonderful moment with Dax's daughter. But in another sense, if they weren't going to do what the original plan was, and have the big moment of them, the biggest tag match of all time, winning all the belts, maybe you should have left them off the show and not just jammed another match in there. I don't know. I don't know if this did anyone any real favors. I can tell you one person it didn't do any favors for, and nothing's done any favors for him since he had the MJF match, and that's Wardlow. He is, I hate to say it, but right now he's dead.
How do you get that far and then know that on this particular night, Wardlow is going to powerbomb MJF and leave him laying, and you've made a star out of Wardlow, and you got absolutely fuck all of nothing for him to do from there on? How do you even pull that off? If nothing else, do Goldberg. I know Tony was a fan of his. Just have him come out and spear some motherfucker and powerbomb him every goddamn week. Would have been better than involving him with all the silliness and the phoniness and marrying him in with preliminary guys. They've undid everything they did.